This is the all-new third generation Renault Megane RS, and this Sport Auto version was my favourite hot hatch, 2018.
Well, this is also the latest Renault Megane RS, except this version is called the Cup Manual. And that's probably because it's got a bunch of go faster bits that clearly make it the winner of the range.
Hang on a minute, a great hot hatch needs to be a good all-rounder. What I'm concerned about with your track version is, can you live with it, and is it any fun out there in the real world?
Good questions, but another good question is whether your commuter variant will tarnish the reputation of one of the world's greatest hot hatches.
Well, let's find out. Both are powered by same spec 1.8 litre turbocharged engines, offering identical 5.8 second 0 to 100 performance. Each gets tricky hydraulic compression stop suspension, plus four-wheel steering and racy RS monitor real-time telemetry. They have toughened wide-body appearance that makes them look more special than your fast Volkswagens or Hyundais. So, what are the differences then?
For a start, pricing. Because the RS manual starts at $44,990, $2.5 grand below the auto, you can add the $1,490 Cup Pack and still be saving about $1,000. And that Cup Pack gives you an even sportier suspension tune, a Torsen mechanical limited slip differential, two-piece rather than one-piece brake rotors, and red painted calipers and a black wheel finish, so it looks a bit sportier too.
That's all well and good, but the Sport Auto has a few techie tricks up its sleeves. For a start, the Auto is the only version that gets launch control, and you get a nifty feature called multi-shift down, where you hold down the left-hand pedal under hard braking and it skips ratios for you. The dual clutch design is utterly brilliant. In manual mode, the upshifts are crisp and responsive, and in auto, it's just really intuitive with the up and down shifts. In fact, it's probably a better transmission than dual clutches in cars that are twice the price. The transmission is matched beautifully to the little 1.8 turbo 4, which gets 205 kilowatts and 390 newton meters. It really works hard for its keep.
I'm pretty sure they say real drivers use a stick shift. But anyway, while Kurt has got two paddles, we've got 2 feet, the clutch and the accelerator. Plus we've also got that limited slip diff to help us get off the line, harness all that engine power. And we've also got a bit of a weight advantage by about 20 kilos. So Kurt may as well have a large holiday suitcase in the passenger seat. The other thing about having the manual gearbox, it allows you to really tie in with that 1.8 litre turbo engine, which is beautifully flexible, it likes to rev, and you've got a perfectly weighted clutch pedal, you've got all the accuracy you need from your manual gearbox. I would only say that the manual shift action could be a little bit more satisfying, but shh, don't tell Kurt that.
The four-wheel steering really has a profound effect on the dynamics. The front end point is really assertive, and the turn-in requires less steering input than you really expect. Four-wheel steering does take some getting used to because in sport mode, the rear steer effect stops at 60 kilometers an hour, whereas in track, the changeover point is 100. Quite a bit of difference when you're bombing through corners at 80 k's an hour. It sits flat and firm in the corners, but there's still some nice compliance there to give you traction over the mid-corner bumps. It's a barrel of laughs point to point, and it's really quick too.
This Cup chassis is absolutely tied down, giving you lots of confidence in these twisties. Now hold on the brakes, down, shift, apex, now the throttle, and you can just feel that limited slip diff pull you out the corner. Brilliant traction. Yeah, a little bit of torque steer, but it's very minor. And you'd almost worry that if there wasn't a little bit of torque steer in a front wheel powerful hot hatch, that you just haven't got enough power under the bonnet. And it's certainly not bad enough torque steer that it's going to send you on a detour off the road. Very manageable. Oh, I tell you what, this Cup version is a bit of a hoot. You know, you always worry that maybe Renault's going to drop the ball one day, the Megane RS, but you drive this thing hard and it doesn't let down that lineage of fast French hatches.
All right, well, let's swap, because if you haven't driven a hot Megane with an excellent dual clutch and a real world suspension tune, then you're in for a bit of a shock, my friend.
Okay. Well, I am intrigued. Well, I guess Daniel Ricciardo has pedal shift levers on his Renault Formula One car, but on this Megane they're just so poorly positioned. For starters, they are fixed to the steering column rather than the steering wheel, so when you're going around corners they're a bit out of reach. They're also positioned too high, so you're kind of having to lift your fingers up a bit, and the downshifts themselves could be a little bit sharper, I reckon. And when you're going deep on the brakes, I'm just not quite getting that same level of feel through the brake pedal as I was in the Cup. Perhaps a little bit more body roll as well in this Sport, but saying that, handling is still great. Steering, still excellent. And when you're coming out of those tighter corners, so the brake biased torque vectoring system that this Sport has got is still pretty effective. It's actually not significantly inferior to the limited slip diff on the Cup. Oh, how good do those flat chat upshifts sound? Fantastic.
The one thing about the Cup manual is the terrible stagger of the pedals. It's like it was designed by somebody at Stairmaster and you're always slogging away with your feet. What the conventional manual does do though, is it gives you a more organic and direct connection between the driver and the powertrain. I do have to admit the Cup chassis is crisper and sharper edged, and the change of direction is frankly alarming. And while it's not quite as fluid as the Sport chassis on the open road, you open it up and the Cup's just an absolute firecracker.
The ride comfort of this RS Sport is surprisingly good. You just don't expect that from hot hatches. You've got a degree of suppleness, yet you've also got fairly disciplined body control. It's a ride handling balance that I reckon is just spot on. And what's even more impressive is that Renault's engineers have achieved this without resorting to adaptive dampers. Yes, you get a decent level of comfort in a Golf GTI, but that Volkswagen is just not as sharp dynamically as this Megane RS. And I also think that Kurt is spot on about the EDC dual clutch. It really is excellent. Better than the GTI's DSG, and really on a par with Porsche's PDK and something like the Cayman. It's that impressive. It's smooth and intelligent at low speeds and fast speeds. And it's even responsive when you're in the neutral or normal mode of this RS.
I spent a lot of time in the Sport Auto version, and the ride, after a while, gets to be quite firm. But this Cup version, it's borderline fierce. The Cup chassis spring and damper rates are 25 and 30% up respectively on the Sport, which would be fine if I was 25 to 30% younger. But it just makes the Cup chassis 25 to 30% harder to live with in the real world. Right, time to pick a winner. And given that there's only $1,000 separating this pair, value really doesn't come into it.
Yeah, agreed. And we shouldn't sit on the fence here. And I've just got to say, I think I'm going a bit soft because I'm finding the Sport Auto really appealing. And I think it's like the perfect driver's car for mums or dads, because you can go for that odd solo run across a country road. It's fast and entertaining enough. But when you've got the whole family in there, you're not going to have the partner or the kids whinging about a rock hard ride.
Yeah, but I'm going to bust a misconception that the Sport Auto is too soft. It's not. It's hard and sharp enough, really, for the keenest punters. And in fact, I reckon most buyers would have a tough time separating these two, running at 8 or 9 tenths.
I agree, you're really going to have to put these two cars on a racetrack to notice the Cup's advantage. But I really like the fact that Renault offer that as an option for your more traditional RS customer. My only issue really is that manual gearbox. It's a bit clunky, it's a bit notchy, and it's just not as slick as a 6-speed you get in the Honda Civic Type R.
Well, really, the Sport Auto for me gets the win here because it really doesn't do anything wrong. And I love the Cup. I get the Cup. But between those pedals and the stiff ride, there are 2 deal breakers for me. Simple as that.
Yeah. So that gives us a problem.
What's that?
Well, we've got about an hour and a half commute back home. There's a few twisters on the road, but mainly it's going to be gridlock traffic for about an hour. And I want your car.
Flip for it?
Heads.